With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Betting on sports can be hard, but hiring Morgan & Morgan is easy. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. They have over 100 offices nationwide and more than 1,000 lawyers. Their fee is free unless they win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/bestbets or dial pound law, pound 529 from your cell phone. That's forthepeople.com/bestbets. This is a paid advertisement.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Back at it, baby. Follow the money. Adam Chernoff now. Double shot, simple handicap podcast. Raz picks as well on the progressive guest line. Going to go rapid fire here. Week 17. First off, appreciate the time. Happy holidays. Happy New Year, my friend. Do we have weather on the Northeast? Do we have wind? Do we have rain? What's the scenario? What are you seeing in some of these games with weather?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of weather throughout the week, a lot of rain forecasted as well. It varies in severity because there's not a lot of wind. And so you have games like Denver-Cincinnati where it's a very scattered shower forecast, but then you go into games like Atlanta-Washington, New York-Buffalo, as well as a game like Miami-Cleveland, where you have the potential for 90% plus rain throughout the duration of the game, and the accumulation of the rain is very high as well. And so those are a handful of games this week that we're going to see impacted to the extent with rain where you could see these totals come down as we get into Sunday. We just saw Miami-Cleveland get hit heavy to the under as that forecast got a lot worse. And we're seeing the Jets and Buffalo kind of stuck in between, but trending down as well. So potential for about 3 or 4 games on Sunday to have really big rain impacts, and then a few others to kind of have secondary impacts from it.
All right, walk me through the middle game tomorrow, Cincinnati and Denver. Denver wins, they're in. Peyton's been great as a road dog. Peyton's been great on extended rest. As I said earlier, Cincinnati 0-7 this year against teams with a winning record. What do you think here? And if you could grab the hook, and the hook's available in some spots, at least it was. What do you think of this one, Cincinnati here at Circa's Lane 3?
Yeah, grab Denver plus 3.5 minus 120. Available at almost every sports book out there. That Circa price is very sharp, and I think is going to represent what we see as we get closer to kickoff tomorrow. We might even get to a flat 3 minus 110. As you mentioned, the extra rest matters, but also just matchups on field matter here a ton. Bo Nix has been his best all season when he's kept clean in the pocket. This is a very, very good Broncos offensive line, and without Hubbard and without Rankins, the two really only pieces on the Bengals D-line that have done anything all season, with those guys out, I mean, the expectation for a Bengals pass rush or to be able to generate pressure here is incredibly low. And I think about the Bengals the last couple of weeks and the backups and rough offenses that they have faced. It's really going to look a lot different from the Broncos offense on tomorrow afternoon. So this is a game here where I think the Broncos operate comfortably on offense. And I get that Burrow is going to be playing catch-up, but Riley Moss back in the secondary is going to allow Surtain to travel with pace a little bit more. And it's a game where Denver is absolutely going to do what they can to keep that offense on the sideline by running the football. To me, it's just a good spot here for the Broncos plus 3.5.
The late game, you are paying a huge tax on the Rams because of the playoff scenarios and win likely to clinch the division, and then the strength of tiebreaker. It was 7 to 6.5 at Circa, but 7's available. The look-ahead line was 3. What do you think of Arizona and the Rams?
Yeah, tough one. And you mentioned it exactly right. There is a big tax here to pay on the Rams at 6.5. And anytime it's touched 7, there has been some buyback on Arizona. I would love to be able to get there, Pauly, but I can't do it because the matchups here for Arizona, I mean, it's just brutal on field. You think about both starting tackles are going to be missing from this game. You have both running back 1 and 2 in the backfield banged up and dealing with injuries. This may turn into a game where Michael Carter ends up getting a ton of reps depending on how the injuries work out the next 24 hours. And so it's also Kyler Murray playing behind an O-line where he struggled a ton this season under pressure. And where is he at mentally? coming into this game. They kind of looked checked out in a way against Carolina, falling behind early. Now they're eliminated. It's a good Rams pass rush that has had to play outdoors in weather the last couple of games and now returns home, where they've looked a lot more comfortable at times this season and certainly have a big advantage up front. But on the other hand, you're going to get a Rams team that is going to run the football a ton with Williams. This is a big game for them where they can clinch the division. Is it going to be one where they're willing to take a lot of chances late and try to extend this margin, or just get away with a win any way that they can? I mean, I think about so many times in important games where McVay gets very tight late in games, and you're now laying a pretty big premium here on LA, given the circumstance and the situation that I can't get to it. And so I think this is a pretty hefty number. Would love to find the way in for Arizona, but with these injuries and matchups, I just can't.
It seems to me there's a great history late in the season when two bad teams play that the games go over and they're high scoring. Do you think that's the case with Tennessee, Jacksonville, and the total of 39?
There has been a very good recent history of that, and it's really kind of been exaggerated more so when it's teams with elements of desperation attached to it. This doesn't fit into that, but to me here at 39 currently, this is a very short total that I'd love to go over when I'm looking at 39. Tennessee made the change to Mason Rudolph. It's about a 10% success rate bump for the Titans offense compared to what they had with Will Levis. So you have a much better opportunity to move the football and score. And we saw them last week chasing a big deficit. All of a sudden, the offense looked a lot better, too. So you kind of have it both ways here against a very bad Jags defense. You have the Ridley revenge factor. You have Chigo Kwankwo, who's emerging as a target with Rudolph going up against one of the worst defenses defending tight ends. A lot of positives here for what the Titans want to do on offense with such a short total. And then the Jags with Mac Jones don't sound like a great over partner, but against this Titans defense, which placed another starter on IR this week, I think they can do their share and make up this part of the total too, with the way that Thomas has been emerging as an elite wide receiver against the Titans defense that's trended poorly, so many different metrics the last couple of weeks. To me, this is a really short total here at 39. I'll play the over.
Got it. Very good. So I don't know what to do here because Rattler came in and looked good and almost rallied the Saints against the Washington defense. What does that say about the Washington defense? Maybe that doesn't bode well against Penix? And then they come out and they were awful and couldn't do anything against the Packers on Monday night. So now you got Carr out, Kamara out, Rattler again, Raiders who blow the draft pick, but excited and talking trash about we're not here to lose games. We're not worried about draft picks. Raiders lane 1 in New Orleans. Walk me through this one.
It's ugly. I'll take the Saints here, +1. So the way I'm looking at this is I do think Spencer Rattler's numbers are a little bit suppressed from what they can be. He's played Todd Bowles and the Bucks. He's played the Broncos, who are highly motivated in that revenge spot on the short week. He's played Jesse Minter and the Chargers. A lot of those games came without any skill position players supporting him. And then he played the Packers in Lambeau on Monday Night Football in a bad spot for them as well. You mentioned the Washington game where he looked somewhat, moderately competent, but he's had a couple games here. It's been brutal defensive opponents on the other side. Now he faces a Raiders defense that's certainly a step down in class without Crosby. That's a little bit more in his weight class, if you will. But I also kind of not only expect a better offensive performance from the Saints overall, but I kind of think about the coaching scenarios here for both sides. As you mentioned, the Raiders, after the win last week, the monumental win against the Jags has them smoking and drinking and celebrating post-game in the locker room. Monday Night Football, Darren Rizzi, the interim head coach for the Saints, gets embarrassed. And he has been openly talking about how these last few games are his chance to get elevated into a higher role with another team next season. This is the final home game for him. It's very much an audition for him. I think for him and this Saints team, this game matters a little bit more than what you're getting from the Raiders coming in off of the victory as well. So in a true coin flip game that is virtually meaningless on both sides, I think it matters a little bit more to the Saints here. So I like them here +1. I don't think we see Olave, but I do think we get MVS back on the field.
Follow the money. Pauly, Mike Palm, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch back Tuesday. Adam Chernoff, our guest. Simple Handicap Podcast, Right Angle Sports on the Progressive Guest Line. Happy holidays. Get the VSiN Watch app. Okay, Carolina, Tampa Bay. We know the first meeting. Carolina blew it. Should have won the game. Hubbard with the big fumble late. Ton of injuries in this game, both sides. Walk me through this one. Tampa laying 8.
I think Tampa Bay is worth a look here, laying 8. As you mentioned, it is a bigger number. In the first meeting, this game was played in Carolina. The Buccaneers were laying 6.5. Was very tight late, and they were lucky to get away from that one. But as I look at the Carolina Panthers and what they're dealing with this week, not only do the injuries on offense matter, Chuba Hubbard, less than 100%, Xavier Legette, less than 100%, O-line dealing with issues too, but for the Panthers defensively, Josie Jewell is going to miss.
Yep.
You're also looking at J.C. Horn, who's been fantastic and just key in that secondary. He is going to miss. You also have Smith Wade, who's the nickel corner. He's going to miss. There's all of a sudden just a bevy of injuries for the Panthers on the defensive side of the football. And so in a game where the Buccaneers, obviously they're paying the tax, it's a must-win spot for them, but they don't have the luxury of knowing what Atlanta does because that Atlanta-Washington game got flexed late. And so to me, this is a game where not only is this Todd Bowles defense going to have a good matchup against a banged-up offensive line with the Panthers dealing with injuries to weapons, but I think about Mayfield and this offense operating against this Panthers defense, whose only prayer all season has been some of these guys in the secondary playing well above what they're capable of. Now with those guys hurt and those key names down, this is a game where the Bucs at home in an all-in spot, I think, win and run away with this one and cover the 8 points at home.
They had no answer for Evans in the first meeting. He gashed them.
Zero.
Yeah, right. And now they're forced to throw to him here, which could be a positive with Otten out and Shepard out.
Absolutely. And with these names down in the secondary for Carolina, this Panthers defense that struggled all season is going to look a whole lot worse on Sunday.
Okay. Double shot coming up. We'll get to the big matchups. Green Bay, Minnesota, the Sunday night game, and the big one Monday night as well. And again, it's right there for the Vikings. Monday night's going to be huge as well. And then if Tampa wins, you know Atlanta's got to have it as well with the Sunday night game and a good game, as you mentioned, Adam, with the flex against Washington. 3 games left. We'll hit those coming up next on VSiN Follow the Money and get Adam's thoughts and some more props as well. Good card and a good way to close Week 17. More with Chernoff coming up.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Great props coming up. Saturday games, Sunday games, and you can find the Cowboys plus money at DraftKings. Longest made field goal in that matchup against the Eagles as well. Double shot with Adam Chernoff. Right Angle Sports and Simple Handicap Podcast. We'll get some more picks and props here as well. Did you hedge? Because you gave this out in August. It was a beautiful call. Have you hedged on your Allen MVP ticket?
$0 hedged, and I'm holding it. I think that he's the deserving winner so far to date. I think that's going to hold through the next 2 weeks, and I believe the adjustment that we have seen down was more of a correction than it was an adjustment. Allen was out to like minus 800 or whatever. Yep. Like it was a ridiculous price a week ago, and that's not a reflection of reality. That was just hype that we saw. And during Christmas Day on the games, as Lamar was playing, I mean, that number was dropping down like crazy. And so I think where it is now is more reflective of what we've seen and what we likely get from the voters. Interesting commentary from Allen this week. He said that the Bills' offense has been intentionally holding back plays, and they have not been running their best stuff as they're trying to save that for the playoffs. I'm curious what they do the next 2 weeks, especially now with KC locking up the 1 seed. Would imagine they rest guys next week. So is this week the last chance for Allen to make that push, kind of make his stance? My argument against Lamar is that he's had a lot of big games to pad his stats against a lot of really bad teams, and I think that's skewing some of his numbers. So I'm not hedging. I'm letting it run, and hopefully Allen at 9-1 comes through.
Even Adam, if you know that it's announced that he's not going to play the final game against the Patriots, if that comes out early next week and they're locked into the 2 and they announce Allen's going to rest, Do you at that point hedge a little if Lamar's playing, or are you that confident?
I'll probably let it run, Mike, honestly. We've seen other guys win MVP sitting the last week in spots where they haven't had to go the full season, and it's happened recently too. And so I'm going to let it go at this point because I think the voters are going to skew his way. But you're right that there is some concern in that.
You mentioned the movement with the under-crashing weather and also Hill and Waddle banged up from Miami. The other late game, Green Bay and Minnesota. Big matchup, little surprise at the line. What do you make of Minnesota at home here? They've been hot. Darnold's been great, and Minnesota trying to get the 1 seed.
Yeah, so obviously a huge game for Minnesota. They're in a matchup here against Green Bay where they're probably going to have to rely on Darnold a little bit more than having him bailed out a little bit by the run game, as the Green Bay Packers defense has become quite a lot better against the run in recent weeks. I think there's a little bit of noise in the Packers schedule, given some of the competition that they have faced over the last month. A couple backups, a couple non-starters, a lot of injuries have worked in their favor. And so there is some noise in some of this defensive improvement, but I really think that we're going to see the Vikings need a big game from Darnold in a spot where he can attack a secondary that is still down a couple key guys. And on the other side, I'm very curious to see this Vikings defense, if they can step up and get some stops against the run. The Green Bay has relied on it a ton, and it's really kind of taken away from some of the issues that Love has had under pressure so far this season, with Christian Watson banged up and more so of a longer shot to play than he is guaranteed to play in this game. I think the Packers really need to desperately get out to a lead early, because this Vikings defense, top 5 against the run this season, but they've also played with a lead more than any other team so far this season, which has alleviated some of the issues they might have stopping the run. It's a true coin flip game at this point. I don't have a take on the side of the total, but certainly a game where it's pretty vital for Minnesota to get a lead and keep throwing the ball with Darnold.
Adam, I agree with you. I think getting Ivan Pace back for the Vikings to stop Jacobs they're going to make Love beat them and hope that he turns the ball over like he did in the first meetings. Your thought on how big a role Pace will play?
I think it can definitely bolster what they've perhaps struggled with at times this season. Don't really trust the defense overall if we see them having to play from behind. I think that's something that makes me a little bit worried about the Vikings into the playoffs. But this is a spot where they can probably get away with it again at home.
Sunday night, Washington laying 4 at home against Atlanta. Penix goes on the road. I know you've been some good calls here going against Atlanta in that defense. But what do you want to do in the Sunday night game?
Yeah, I'll back them here +4. I think the 4s are going to get taken out. I think this closes.
There's a 3.5 here.
-20.
Yeah, good. It's 3.5 here. Yeah.
Yeah, these 4s are going to disappear probably as the day goes on and into tomorrow. So I think this closes 3 -20 in favor of Washington at home. Honestly, these two teams have been power rated pretty well dead equal for the last 2 months, and now we're seeing Washington out to more than a field goal at home, and I don't buy that. Kirk Cousins was playing at a bottom 5 quarterback level in the league.
Yeah.
And so whatever the take is about Penix last week, if you're just looking at the box score and you're saying, well, these numbers weren't overly impressive against the Giants defense, it's hard not to say that they weren't better than Cousins. And if you're somebody that's looking at the takeaway from a lot of the film experts this week is that Penix looked very poised in the pocket. He had 5 key drops, and the Pitts turnover in the end zone was absolutely not on him. And so if you're buying into that at all, which I am, how is this not a game where Atlanta is upgraded going into Washington against a bad defense that's going to be without their best cornerback in Lattimore? So to me here, Atlanta at 4, it's too much. These two teams are basically dead equal, and to get to more than the field goal is giving Washington a ton of respect. A prop I would add here as well, Pauly, Mooney over 53.5 receiving yards, as we see Drake London getting the tougher matchup from Washington corners. This is going to be a game where Penix looks to Mooney a couple times downfield. So if you can get 53.5 right now, that would be a look I would take. If
you like what you saw out of Penix, would you look at the over in this game then, Adam, at 47.5? Are you factoring that in if you're confident in Penix going against this defense and Daniels going against that defense?
The only reason I have not bet that over is because of the forecast. And right now, as we talk on Friday afternoon, there is a band of rain in the forecast that's 85% with serious accumulation that tapers off around 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So there's a lot of uncertainty about what the weather impact for this game is going to be, and that's the only reason I have not bet the over. But I agree with you completely that based on what we saw and based on Washington's inability to get stops over the course of the season, certainly want the over here if the weather is clear, but this is a total that might come down a little bit yet with that forecast.
One more 2.5 minutes. Monday Night Football. They've been playing games with this up to 4, 3, back up to 3.5. Lions on the road against the Niners. What do you think?
Well, to go from 2.5 on the look ahead now to, at times, as you mentioned, as high as 4 is a pretty big overreaction as it's sitting here. The reason that we're back and forth on this is because so much ties into what happens in the Green Bay, Minnesota game. There is nothing about Dan Campbell in his seasons as head coach of the Detroit Lions that leads me to believe that he is going to sit and rest guys. He had a quote last season that was saying, the guys are going to rest when the season is over. For now, we're playing everybody. And I think he follows that same mentality in this game. But it is hard not to look at the fact of what might set up next week for the division, for the 1 seed, with the loser dropping down a long ways into a much more difficult matchup, and then have this game as Detroit on a short week going into that, on Monday night in San Francisco. Everybody's going to be looking at this game as the Lions need it more than anything. The 49ers don't need it at all. It's meaningless. And this is a number probably like we saw with Seattle yesterday, get bet up as we got closer to kickoff. If Minnesota wins, this game is probably pushing up towards 4.5, just like we saw last night. And at that point, it's too much. So it's very much a wait and see. I could never get to laying this number with Detroit, and that would especially be true if we see this pushed up a little bit more in a similar manner to what we saw last night. So
okay.
Waiting and seeing on this one. But, yeah, that's how I stand here.
Very good. What do you do if it's Flacco and not Richardson?
If it's Flacco and not Richardson, we're going to see the Colts pass rate spike. We've seen Flacco start a couple games for them, and 3 of the 5 starts got into the 50s. And so that'll change you into going down throwing the football a ton. Deep shots will have a lot more accuracy. I mean, if you get the news that Neighbors starts Sunday morning and he's going to play, I don't know how you're not looking at over 40.5 in this game. Yeah. But we don't know who's starting at QB for Indy, and we don't know what's happening with some of the Giants' skill guys. So that's, again, a wait and see for me. But I could only look over if Flacco starts. Very
good, my friend. Appreciate it. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the games this week.
You go. Happy Adam Chernoff on the Progressive Guest Line.
They might combine the U.S. and Canadian economies. Big news there. They're sitting on all that oil.
They have lost 10 in a row, and it's a 1-9 ATS run for the Giants. If they lose, they're the first team in history to go 0-9 at home for a season. Who's going to that game? Who would want? Oh, boy. And that's...
Who are they taking? They taking Shadur, number 1?
I don't know. People on X say it won't happen. They're not going to do that. You don't want the circus. And
they don't want to deal with Neon?
I know. That's an interesting discussion. They could be Hunter. Who knows? But they're doing it the right way. But certainly they are embarrassing themselves week in, week out. A ton of props coming up Saturday, Sunday, high, low. Give me the dough. All that coming up next. VSiN, Follow the Money, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Vandy on top of Georgia Tech, 14-10. Minus 1.5 in play, 46.5 the total now in a good game. And already today, Navy, who was a 10-point dog, close pick'em, beat Oklahoma. As Mike mentioned, it was 14-0 Oklahoma. And then they score on the final play, go for 2, don't get it. Navy wins 21-20. Coming up, how about the Paul Stone call? Texas Tech now favored against Arkansas. You were talking about this before the show, what Mr. Stone gave out on Tuesday. Total of 53.
Yeah, he said it. They would be favored when they kicked, and maybe by a field goal. Well, it's been 2.5 for a few hours now, so he's very. He said right at the end of the segment, Mark, It's my favorite bet of the whole bowl season. So I bet it when he said that.
Yeah, he also
Right.
gave out Navy and said that would move too, and he was right. Now, what are you guys doing here? Syracuse opened 5. They're up to 18.5. As Brad Powers said yesterday, everyone's out. Quarterback left, coach left, staff left, everyone gone. Syracuse 18.5, 58.
Wasn't that like the case with Oregon State last year against Notre Dame? Jonathan Smith left. Everybody left. And they played him. It was just, I don't know. Syracuse was pretty good on the end there against Miami. They can put some points up. That was a hell of a game they played against UNLV out here.
Yeah, right.
I'm not sure Ohio State really upgraded the quarterback. I think it's kind of was a lateral move for them. But
Well, he had some bad moments with the interception, certainly Pitt, but that's wild to see that type of move. And A&M 3.5, 55 against USC. The late
it was a
game.
massacre in the Battle of the Bands last night. USC was unbelievably good.
Yeah?
Might have been the best band I've ever seen out here on Fremont Street.
Really?
It was they could be a professional. They must have this as their major pro. I know they're a film school, but anyhow, A&M's laying 3.5 in the game.
Yeah. Okay. So the game you like. Here we go. G-Bank best bet time. Monday.
Wow.
We're not on until 1:00. Obviously, 11:30. Iowa against Missouri. Take it away.
Yeah, best bet for the G-Bank. Look at these two teams. Missouri started the year ranked 11th. They won their first 5 games. They were in the top 10. They had playoff dreams playing in the greatest conference God ever created, the SEC.
Sure.
Couldn't get there. Now they go to play Iowa. This Iowa team got absolutely dominated by UCLA in the Rose Bowl. Couldn't stop UCLA. Michigan State never punted against Iowa. You think about the great defensive teams for Iowa. Never punted against Iowa in East Lansing and beating them. They got run out, obviously, at Ohio State. But we went through the stats in that Nebraska game. They outgained them 3-1, the 4th downs, 10-5, all the stats, and somehow Nebraska found a way to lose that game. Somehow Iowa won 8 games. Somehow they're in this game against a team that's a borderline playoff team in Missouri. The line's only 3. I'd lay it. I think this is a rout.
Best Bets brought to you by G-Bank, official bank of Visa. If you're serious about sports betting, you need the G-Bank Visa Signature Card. Most credit card street books and gaming transactions at cash advances, even when you put your own money on the card. G-Bank treats gaming transactions as purchases, so you're typically saving up to 3 to 5% on cash advance fees right there. For a limited time, get a $250 bonus after you spend $1,000 in the first 90 days. Apply now. VSiN.com/GBank. VSiN.com/GBank. Subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions apply. You are right about the schedule. There shouldn't be 8 tomorrow. And then we got 1 Monday, and then a ton of games Tuesday, and then we got the first playoff game with Boise and Penn State.
Well, you put 8 on a day where you have 3 NFL games,
That's
too.
right.
Come on.
Too much. Yep. Who will have the most passing yards Saturday? These are great. Burrow plus 175. Stafford, Herbert, Murray 550. Nick 6-1. Drake May 7-1. That's not enough on May. But that's good that they have Saturday and Sunday. Most receiving yards. Boy,
Would you take a shot with Knicks against
yes,
that defense?
Yes,
6-1?
Yeah, especially how he looked against the Chargers, right? Good point. Herbert's, I don't want Herbert there because I think it's going to be a lot on the ground and then going to be cold. Chase is plus 320 to have the most receiving yards, even though what we said that.
Can you take the? Is there two-way? Are these two-way bets?
No, I know.
I know.
Yeah, you can play. You play under
Yeah,
92 and a half. The guy held him to 1 catch last time.
Is he the best cover corner now in the game?
He's only allowed
Clearly,
234 yards.
Well, they don't even throw at him. That's the thing.
Yep. Puka's plus 350. You can see some big tickets cash because of how the schedule is spread out here. Higgins 7-1. Sutton's 8. McBride 12. Cup 20. Yeah, boy. Hunter Henry 45-1. Okay. Most rushing yards Saturday. Williams $1.10. Chase Brown plus 180. Stevenson 10-1. McLaughlin 20-1. That one's tough.
What about Dobbins? Is Dobbins on the board?
No, he's not listed.
Other.
Bad
Field.
job.
You got a field there?
Bad job. They got to put that up. Yep, good point. These are at DraftKings. High-low. Show me the dough. High-scoring game on Sunday. Carolina, Tampa, plus 320. Green Bay, Minnesota, plus 350. Atlanta, Washington. Good point with Adam, and several listeners tweeted in as well about the weather. 4-1 the Sunday night game. Jets, Bills. Bills should go up and down the field. Jets can't stop anything. Colts, Giants, 10-1. Could that get there?
Come on.
They have a bad defense. If it's Flacco and it's throw, that's not crazy.
Yeah, but
you're not dealing with a lot.
You think the Giants are going to get to 28? No, I pass on
I'm
that.
not asking for that
I'll take
much.
Packers, Minnesota in the dome.
Well, okay. Tennessee, Jacksonville, 11-1.
That's supposed to be rain too.
Miami, Cleveland, 11. Dallas, Philly, 12. Raiders, Saints, 15. Raiders, Saints, obviously the favorite for the low game, 4-1. Get that off, right? That's your line. If it was in my backyard, I'd shut the blinds
I
off.
wouldn't open the lines.
Boy,
yeah.
Cowboys, Eagles, plus 425. Your long shots, Carolina, Tampa, 15-1. Atlanta, Washington, 12-1. Highest scoring team, Sunday only. Tampa, 4-1. Bills, plus 425. Washington plus 650. Packers 9-1. Minnesota 10-1. You want to get nuts? Dallas 40, Cleveland 40, Giants 40. Low points, Dallas 6-1. So is Cleveland and the Giants. Washington, Buffalo, Tampa in the 40 to 30-1 range in that one.
What's Cleveland for low? I'd take a look at that one.
Yeah,
if it's
6-1.
DTR.
Okay,
Oof.
individual props. I mentioned Barkley earlier. 111.5. 268 away from breaking Dickerson's record. He's going against Dallas, who's 28th against the run. You're also starting Pickett. I mean, it's got to be a huge dose of Barkley, and record aside, that he has a big performance and goes over. I mentioned Thielen, 54.5. The rapport he has with Young. Evans, 82.5. How does he not go off? He did in the first game. And now you're down Otton and Shepard.
But they're trying to get him to 1,000, too. I mean, that's a big factor.
Good
for
point.
Evans over.
Good
right?
point.
He's got 2 games to get
Well,
there.
same thing. Bowers, 66.5.
This kid, if he were drafted by another team,
forget
we'd be talking about how great he was.
Well,
He'd be offensive rookie of the year, all this stuff. And he's playing with no quarterback and catching 11, 12, 13 balls a game?
Got to look at that. I bet Samich will talk about that coming up. I mean, it's just, here's 10 and 11 catches. Jonnu Smith as well. Waddle banged up. Hill banged up. He's been a target monster. Jonnu Smith in the low 40s. And plus, that's what Tua wants to do anyways. Get rid of it quick and feed him. Bucky Irving, 80.5. Charch made a great case for him. He's 11-3 to the over as well. If you check out the prop analyzer, and I mentioned Adams also, as he's at 11-plus targets, 4 games in a row. The Taylor thing, I love Taylor over against the Giants, but it changes things if it's going to be Flacco. But it's just the Giants aren't going to stop him either. Especially if it's going to be Richardson, it's going to be a heavy dose of the ground game as well, which you have to think he's going to have a big day on the ground. So a bunch of props there. It's good. And I'm with you with Knicks. He's only 229 against that defense.
That defense is awful.
Oh,
Awful,
you
Paul.
got to love Peyton in terms. What's one thing about what do you want to do with the spread? But all that time to prepare a win, right? 229 only with his prop. Burrow's 273, which he's got the record 7 games in a row, at least 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. Darnold's 260, Love's 240. Penix is only 208.5. And then you also have the no interception prop. Herbert's $1.30. Stafford's minus 150.
What's Bryce Young's number?
I'll have to look at Bryce.
Look at Bryce Young. He had a big day the first time against them.
What do you want? No interception?
I want over Bryce Young yards.
Oh, passing yards.
Passing yards. What do you think?
Yeah.
They dominated them that first game. I don't know how. I had Tampa Bay money line to complete a 3-teamer. It was the miracle win of the year for me.
Yeah. He is 225. Yeah. You should get that. Plus, they'll be playing from behind, too. Yep. But again, I always make this mistake. Don't forget to ladder these. Because you get this Jonnu Smith, the Bowers, even the McBride with 92 catches. These guys with the catches and the yards, these things add up and they're big payouts. So don't forget to ladder this stuff. And we especially seen the run that Samich has been on with the Adams and some tight ends as well. So I think a lot of these guys could be in store for a big game. But also the interception. What?
298, Bryce Young, first time they played Tampa. Threw for 298.
Yes. We'll tackle Survivor up next. A recap again of what happened last night, the 6-3 debacle, and 6 people went out. We're down to 34 left, 420,000 in equity, and how do you play it on Sunday? Who's left? Who's available? What do you do? And Mike's got a great tidbit on an NHL note. Coming up, follow the money.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
All right, a lot of news in the real world as well. Greg Gumbel passed away, and also Mike Brown fired as head coach of the Sacramento Kings. So it just doesn't stop here with all the news and what's going on with all the bowl games and all the action as well and what transpired last night on Thursday night. Also condolences to the Gumbel family as well. He was an unbelievable studio guy, I thought.
Great host for the NCAA selection show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. As well as the football team.
Yep.
Program.
Okay, so Bears lose last night 6-3. 6 more people go out. We're down to 34 at Circus Survivor. Over $14 million. We're talking equity $420,000. You go to survivorsweat.com if you want to wheel and deal as well. Sell pieces, buy pieces, get in whatever you want to do. Trade, swap. 33 people have the Colts left. They could take the field eliminated. What do you do?
If you had all of these teams available this week, which I'm just throwing out a hypothetical, where are you landing? If you could pick anybody this week, because you have 2 still have Philadelphia, 4 still have Buffalo against the Jets, 3 have Miami and Cleveland, 14 have Tampa Bay. They're an 8-point favorite.
Okay, let's go through it.
Okay.
Let me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to set the total. I'm going to make the prop over under 5.5 teams selected.
So I would think Buffalo will be used.
4 people have Buffalo, 10-point favorite.
Philadelphia will be used.
2 have Philadelphia, 7-point
Well,
favorite.
maybe, I don't know.
No?
Indianapolis will definitely be used. Tampa Bay will be used. The Rams will be used. I think 5 teams will be. You have to set it at 5.5, I think, the prop, right? If you say 4.5, you got to weight it heavy to the over.
3 have the Chargers. Can't do it on the road,
I
too
don't think
risky.
the Chargers are used.
You could keep it in your back pocket hoping they lose and they need to beat the Raiders next week out here.
Mm-hmm.
One person has Washington. Well, you know where you stand. You're the late game. But no.
Yeah, because nobody will use the Monday night game, so you get the last pick of the weekend.
That's right.
That's an interesting angle because you know how you're hedging. You know you're monetizing. You know the numbers are clear. Like, you take Washington and 28 people take the Colts and they go down.
How many do you think would use the Colts? So let me ask your answer your question.
It's probably the last hurrah for Josh Allen, so don't you have to use your Buffalo? 4 have to use Buffalo this week?
Boy, the Jets
They're
are so
locked
bad.
into the 2.
The Jets are so bad.
This team was rated to have the best defensive line. They had the best linebacking core, the best secondary.
Yeah.
But do you know that since they fired their coach, the defense, the 2 teams, the defense has gone because they were their defensive coordinators, Bobby Saleh and Eberflus. They were their best position coaches.
It'd be the Colts or the Rams. And it's probably the Colts, even though it's a road team.
What do you mean, for you?
Yeah, I would be one of the 33 on the Colts.
I would use the Rams.
You would?
Yeah.
At home, winning in, right?
Winning
all
in,
the injuries with Arizona.
Arizona has nothing to play for. Nothing to play
Well, the
for.
Giants want to lose, though.
And I don't think that well, you got a point there. I don't think that Kyler is going to rally the troops as a leader. A lot of criticism of Marvin Harrison Jr.
What happened?
Huh?
You're supposed to be
everybody
Randy
ripping
Moss.
this?
Well, it's fair, though. I mean, it's also the expectations.
He said, I've had a tough time.
This one shocked me.
The name is
when you see
name is how he got where he got. I'm telling you.
No, he was good.
I watched that Emeka Egbuka is a better receiver.
Come on.
Well, look at the Notre Dame tape.
The hype was warranted. It's just with what Neighbors has done, what Thomas has done. I can't believe this guy hasn't come in and made a huge impact.
First of all, Kyler didn't throw the ball to him the first 2 weeks.
That's true. It was wide
He did
open.
not even try to throw the ball to him.
Yeah, that's fair. But for this guy was going first round in fantasy drafts. Yeah. And other than that game against the Rams, he's nothing much. 33 have the Colts. 4 have the Bills. 8 have Cincinnati.
Come on. You think Cincinnati's going to get used?
We always see surprises.
They take out more people than anybody.
Yeah, no kidding.
Used to be Jacksonville.
But there's always surprises here, and people like to mix it up. 14 on Tampa, 19 on the Rams. You can't use Miami. On the road, bad weather.
If you had Buffalo, would you use Buffalo? If you were one of the 4 that still had Buffalo, or you'd rather use the Colts?
God, I'd take the Colts. Just anti-Giants. Mike, they've lost 10 in a row and they're 1-9 ATS.
Flacco could have a really bad game.
Oh, come on. How would he
could.
Why?
Why couldn't he?
Against the Giants defense?
He's going to throw the ball 60 times.
Okay.
What if he throws 5 picks?
Why? Who says? I'll give the ball to Taylor.
They
won't
always do.
stop.
Adam
They won't
Chernoff
stop
just
Taylor.
came on and said they throw the ball like crazy.
It'd be a big dose of Taylor, too.
Paul, I think they're the best team that's already been eliminated from the playoffs. I think it's very disappointing that they didn't even come close to making the playoffs.
Wow, the Denver game, what happened? That was it.
If he goes into the end zone there,
they're going to win the game.
Yeah, because Denver becomes one-dimensional.
Yeah.
Knicks is just going to pass the ball.
Yeah. So 2 on Philly, 1 on Washington. And then you'll be the last pick angle as well. So I'm going to set it at 5.5 teams used, 17
I'd go over.
You would, okay.
There's always surprises.
Watch it every Saturday. Mike Somich, Matt Brown, Stevens, Benson, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. Can't wait. And we're now down to the nitty-gritty here. And with not only this, also Circa Millions as well with the quarterlies and only 10 picks left. So
Mike Somich and Matt Brown have done a nice job on that show.
Love that show.
Some have mentioned it might have been an upgrade from Brady and Pritch, but I'll just say they've done a nice job.
Okay. What do you have on NHL? This is interesting.
So I find this interesting from the travel angle. The NHL, the last 4 years, has set this. All teams are shut down December 24th, 25th, and 26th. Your facilities aren't open. You can't practice, Paul, and you can't travel. So all these road teams today had to fly this morning. They couldn't fly last night. Paul, in 2022, the Maple Leafs had a game on the 27th in St. Louis and flew there on Thursday night, violating the policy. NHL fined them $100,000.
Okay.
Very serious about this.
Okay.
So I look at the teams that have longer flights that are going to get in later. And now the home teams can have a skate this morning, have their legs back to them. We know when they have the 10-day layoff, the teams that have played a game have a big advantage over the teams that haven't. I like Dallas for this reason. The flight from Minneapolis, I think they left at 8:30 this morning. Your team, the Wild, who's banged up. Kaprizov didn't go, so the line ran away. I bet him yesterday at $155. It's $2 now.
Okay.
Because Kaprizov, they have no offense, right? But you look at the longer angles. There's some are Toronto to Detroit. The travel is nothing. But Colorado's playing in Salt Lake City. The travel's nothing. But you look at, how about Buffalo? Buffalo had lost 13 straight games till they beat the Islanders the other day. They're minus 160 tonight against the Blackhawks in Buffalo.
Is that the game they pulled the goalie with 10 minutes left?
11:58 down 5-1 while pulled the goalie.
What was
I
that?
had end game under 7.5 and ended. I lost. They had 2 more goals.
Oh.
I lost.
What was his rationale for that?
He does this all the time.
Does he?
Well, they said on the broadcast, he said, everybody talks about 6-on-5 hockey, but we rarely get to play it. I want to have more practice with it. So he pulls him coming out of the under 14 timeout, 12:58. There's nobody in net. I'm watching the game on my phone. I threw the phone. This guy. Wow.
That's incredible.
Right. They scored 45 seconds later into the empty net.
Oh, no.
What's the point?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Good to continue, though. What
Well,
else you
anyhow, so you look at these and you can look at them. Chicago does have a little bit of a longer trip. Carolina's going
This
to
is
New
good.
Jersey.
We
Meanwhile,
got
New
something
Jersey's played very. Markstrom's been excellent the last month and a half, and they've gotten bet back to being the favorites or whatever. So, but I just think it's an interesting travel angle. These teams they don't even get a skate. They have to travel today, and the home team can do a morning skate. So, no day games. Obviously, they all start 4:00 Pacific is when the games are starting. But just look at that coming out of the Christmas break each year. I didn't know that. A friend of mine pointed that out. And then I went back and researched, saw they got fined. Couldn't travel last night. They don't allow it.
That's a huge
They
advantage.
want
for them.
all the players to have the full 3 days off for their families.
Yeah. Okay.
Meanwhile, the Wild are in trouble anyhow. They're banged up.
Yeah.
They can't beat good teams.
Are you going to watch the game at Wrigley Field? New Year's
Yeah,
Eve.
I wish I was there.
What
I
a-
love
what a
those outdoor
setup
games.
that is.
Well, they always have them. They had in Notre Dame Stadium.
Yeah, I know,
They
but
have it-
sure. But this one at
It's
Wrigley,
kind of-
and then you get the ring.
Now
in
the
with
General Jim Montgomery's in St. Louis. They're a little bit relevant, but the Blackhawks are not. So, yes, of course, we'll watch it. It's kind of sandwiched in on New Year's Eve and all that. I don't know if it'll get the fanfare that it has in recent years. My favorite when the ice melted in northern Nevada when they played.
Oh, Tahoe?
Tahoe. When they
Well,
remember the ice
glare.
melted, they had
the glare with the sun.
So they had to wait till the sun was down and come
God.
back. The abs and nights.
You know, Al Michaels taking a shot too, but he's right. It's like Chicago sports. What do you got? Oh, Bulls, Bears, White Sox, Blackhawks.
I used to do that about Detroit, right? All the teams.
Yeah.
How about Chicago? You can do that now.
That's right. Brutal. What's going on? How about did you see? I saw you tweeted that. The White Sox win total is what? 49.5?
It's ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it.
Oh, God, that's right. You had that. You can't be
And
serious.
they have to listen to John
Right.
Schriffen.
Yeah.
Huh? How about he called Oscar Robertson
right.
Oscar Robinson three times on the telecast?
You can't be
Shrimping.
serious.
Oh, God.
Kind of player who wants to drop $10,000 or more on NFL line at the best price in the market, or maybe you're looking for instant acceptance on your in-game bets. You need Sport Trade, the app that's revolutionizing sports betting. $4 lines instead of the standard $10. Instant in-game betting, dedicated player service. Sports Trade delivers a premium betting experience like no other. Live in Jersey, Colorado, Iowa, Arizona, and Virginia. Download Sport Trade today. Code VSiN. 10% cash back on every wager during your first week. Got to be 21 or older to play. Terms apply. Get it now. $4 lines, high limits. Sport Trade. Rapid fire. Marquee games Saturday, Sunday in the NFL, and all the injury updates. And then in pocket, and then a double shot of Mike Somich, who's coming heavy with so many props here to get to and tons of ladders. Maybe Delta Downs if they're running. Straight ahead, VSiN, follow the money.